against Bitcoin.
It's going up forevermore.
You're against Bitcoin, you're against freedom.
Yo, welcome to another episode of Simply Bitcoin Live, your number one source for the peaceful Bitcoin revolution, color breaking news, culture, matic warfare. We'll be your guide through the separation of money and state. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the most watched Bitcoin daily live show on YouTube, Rumble, and X. Lots of stuff to talk about. There was, usually we don't get into the speculative territory or the price prediction territory. I just really like how this thread kind of broke it down. And also, of course, Michael Saylor is feeling extremely bullish and he's following the Samson Mao kind of way of putting the price. So apparently you don't say 48,000. Let's round it up. Apparently you don't say $50,000 Bitcoin. You say 0.05 million. Right. Everyone's getting prepared for the $1 million Bitcoin that we all know we all know it's going to hit because it's going up forever, Laura. And also in the beginning, very interesting. Central bankers' hubris are reaching maximum levels. They literally, over the last couple of years, like whether it's Christine Lagarde is literally calling Bitcoin an escape valve, or, all the things that we've seen, especially if you guys have been tuning into Simply Bitcoin, you guys haven't missed a beat. But they literally said that central banking is a great business to be in. Like, they literally talked about the racket itself. So we're going to talk, we're literally going to play you guys the video. Like, why would they say this? Like, this is such a great advertisement for Bitcoin. And then not to mention that quote unquote business or racket that they're part of has real life consequences. We've talked about this many times on Simply Bitcoin. If you are in the lower and middle classes, that generally means you're part of the younger generation. You don't have the means to save in assets, therefore you don't benefit from asset inflation. Every time they print money, the price of assets go up, not necessarily because their value goes up, but because of the amount of money that they printed, right? But the vast majority of people on planet Earth don't have that privilege, so they save in fiat currencies. They earn and they save in fiat currencies. So they get devalued. Their purchasing power continues to decrease, causes this nihilistic worldview. I would say depression. You constantly have to work harder and harder and harder, and you're getting paid less and less and less and less. This is what Bitcoin fixes. This is in the Genesis block. It says literally, Chancellor on the brink of the second bailout for banks. Obviously referencing money printing. Money printing has real life consequences. Yesterday in the US, it passed the Senate. I don't know if it's going to pass the House, but essentially they just approved another $60 billion package to fund the war in Ukraine. This is money that we don't have, the US. The US is currently a $34 trillion deficit. The unfunded liabilities, the last time I checked the debt clock, is 212 trillion. That's right, with the T. So it's just some absurd amount. But yeah, these central bankers' hubris, whether it's Opti's ex-girlfriend, Christine Lagarde, or these central bankers out of New Zealand. I mean, the only one that you could say that doesn't have that type of hubris, but I'm not making excuses, okay? So don't beat me up here, was Jerome Powell in that 60 Minutes interview that we played you guys last week or the week before, right? Where he literally said the US is on an unsustainable fiscal path. So maybe not all of them, it's got into their head, but at least some of them are saying the quiet part out loud. And Augustine Carson, you could put him in, in the hubris camp as well. So anyways, it's going to be a great show. We have a lot to talk about. Let's get it started. I'm going to get Opti in here, and he already has a smile on his face. So that means it's going to be a great show. We're going to break all-time high in numbers. Once Opti has a smile and the show started, that means we're doing something good. So what's up?
Well. Good morning. Good to see you guys. And yeah, man, we say it all the time. As hard as we try to push Bitcoin, we will never match the marketing capabilities of all of the central bankers and the politicians and everyone that doesn't like Bitcoin. We can speculate and we can put words in their mouths just based on, the meme. What's the saying? Not what they say, watch what they do. Well, we've been watching what they've been doing for a long time, and now they're saying what they've been doing, and it's absolutely incredible. It really reminds me, and I hate to be like, oh man, always thinking about the Roman Empire, but it really feels like the end of the Roman Empire, where the politicians and the bankers are just trying to take as much as humanly possible, as quickly as possible, and we're seeing it in real time. It's absolutely amazing. Anyways, let's bring in our guest, and that's why I'm smiling today, is because we got Tatum Turn Up on today's show. Though, I do have to forewarn you guys, Tatum wants to be very serious here today. So less comedy, and we're going to geek out on mining. So this is when we were hanging out in Las Vegas, Tatum like hit me. He's like, bro, like literally put his arm around me. He's like, bro, like, everyone thinks I'm like a funny guy, but like, I really just want to geek out and talk about mining. So I'm like, come on.
You can't be a funny guy unless you're extremely intelligent. Okay, you can't do it. You can't be a funny guy unless you're extremely intelligent.
Tatum's the exception.
No. But it's like on purpose funny, because there's like two types of funnies. There's like the funny where you don't try to be funny, but then there's the highly rehearsed skill set type of funny, which is definitely where Tatum falls in. But I just noticed something since Opti brought Tatum on the show. It's usually, in between two ASICs, but right now it's Tatum in between two.
Podcast host.
I don't know.
I thought that was going to get dark real quick.
In between two simplies? I don't know, bro. I don't know what the correct term is. Anyways, guys.
Wait. Before we go on, sorry.
Yeah.
Can we all acknowledge Tatum's drip on today's show? Look at this guy. All right.
He's got a jacket.
Where's the bulletproof vest, bro?
Yeah, dude, you're not on brand.
Yeah, no, it was. It's in the shop right now. It's someone took a few shots at me, and it's got to get repaired. It was Yellow's caught me.
Yellow's a dangerous puppet. Yellow's a dangerous puppet. All right, guys, if you're enjoying the show, make sure to smash that like button. Consider subscribing. Really helps, with the peaceful Bitcoin revolution, share Bitcoin content. So please subscribe to our channel if you're enjoying it so far. Anyways, before we jump into the numbers, I do want to give a shout out to our flagship sponsor. And of course, I'm talking about Bitcoin Well. By Real Bitcoin. Bitcoin Well is the self-custody Bitcoin platform on a mission to enable independence. Future-proof your money. Ladies and gentlemen, they are a publicly traded company coming out of Canada that recently expanded to all 50 states. And it's the first Bitcoin on-ramp in the United States of America. We're very, very proud to say this. That offers self-custody by default. That's right. You can't buy Bitcoin on Bitcoin Well if you are not taking self-custody of it. And I think that's the way it should be. So what are you waiting for? Visit bitcoinwell.com today. All right, everybody, let's get to numbers. We have a lot to talk about.
The Bitcoin numbers.
Is your Bitcoin in cold storage really secure? Is your seed phrase really secure? Stamp Seed's do-it-yourself kit has everything you need to hammer your seed words into commercial-grade titanium plates instead of just writing them on paper. Don't store your generational wealth on paper. Paper is prone to water damage, fire damage. You want to put your generational wealth on one of the strongest metals on planet Earth, titanium. Your words are actually stamped into this metal plate with this hammer and these letter stamps. And once your words are in, they aren't going anywhere. No risk of the plate breaking apart and pieces falling everywhere. Titanium stamped seeds will survive nearly triple the heat produced by a house fire. They're also crush-proof, waterproof, non-corrosive, and time-proof. All things that paper is not, allowing you to hodl your Bitcoin with peace of mind for the long haul. Stamp your seed on Stamp Seed. All right, guys, we made it incredibly easy for you guys. You could scan the QR code on your screen. It'll take you directly to the Stamp Seed website, where you can use promo code SIMPLY to get 15% off anything on their website. Store your generational wealth on titanium. Don't store it on a lesser metal. Does that make sense? I don't know. At the time of recording, the Bitcoin price is 48,585 sats per dollar, 2,058 block height, 830,314 blocks to halving, 9,686. It's coming up. Halving estimate April 19th, 2024. Total Lightning Network capacity 4,765 Bitcoin. Capacity value $231 million US dollars. Realized monetary inflation continuing to take fiat currencies to absolute school. 1.75%. The market capitalization of Bitcoin $953 billion with a B, and the Bitcoin versus gold market cap 6.91%. Quick ETF update. Wall Street can't get enough of the corn. The iShares Bitcoin Trust holds 95,276 Bitcoin, almost at 100,000 Bitcoin. The Fidelity Trust, last week when we read you guys this number, holds 76,429. Ladies and gentlemen, there's not enough Bitcoin for them. There's not enough Bitcoin to go
at this
around.
Price, Nico. At this price.
At this price, exactly. I mean, are you gonna sell it? I'm not gonna sell it. Did Opti just slip up?
No. There's enough Bitcoin at higher prices to go around.
Did Opti just slip up? Opti just confirmed that he's gonna sell his Bitcoin to Larry Fink.
I don't own any Bitcoin.
I
just talk about it constantly.
That's a good answer. In other news,
wait, Nico, can we before you go into this, guys, if you're buying an ETF, don't buy the BlackRock one and buy the Fidelity one because they're actually Bitcoiners. So pump up those Fidelity numbers.
Yeah.
What?
Hey, people are going to buy it. People are going to buy the ETF anyways.
Exactly. Opti, what's gone into you today, bro? He went on a date with Chrissy last night. That's what happened.
Yeah. I'm feeling good, dude.
Yo, Opti, we talked about this.
Yeah.
Man. You can't keep going back.
Opti can't get enough of the Cantillionaire effect, man. He loves that. He loves Cantillionaire.
Hey, play this clip and you guys will understand why.
Speaking of Cantillionaires, I'm pretty sure Opti dated her as well. Anyways, so there's a group of central bankers, and they said the quiet part. Like to be frank, like I don't know how else to put it. Like, you know, usually I don't say we're, you know what, clown world is such clown world that we don't even have to be hyperbolic at this point. Like we don't even have to like, you know, exaggerate or nothing. Like they're just saying it, whether that's Christy Lagarde, whether that's Jerome Powell admitting, you know, the unsustainable fiscal policy of the U.S., you know, whether it's like Elizabeth Warren, like, you know, basically using the Wall Street Journal, using legacy media. Like we're at that point in the movie that like I think it was Max Kaiser that originally said this, and it was genius. The excuses themselves are suffering from inflation, right? So anyways, so here's Robert Breedlove, and a lot of predominant Bitcoiners had a take on this. But before I read those takes, let's check out the video. It's about 26 seconds long. I'm going to play it for you guys a couple times because it's that crazy.
You know, the fiscal challenges, et cetera, that are there. So very focused on being cost effective. We actually fund ourselves and then work out what dividend is needed to pay. So we kind of it's a great business to be in, central banking. You print money and people believe it, and touch wood, and so it's a slightly different beast. So we kind of it's a great business to be in, central banking.
I'm gonna play that one more time. That is not a parody. This is not AI. This is coming out of New Zealand. Central bankers in New Zealand saying the quiet part out loud. Maybe this guy didn't believe that the internet exists, but this is absolutely insane. Let's play it one more time.
Yeah, so very focused on being cost effective. We actually fund ourselves and then work out what dividend is needed to pay. So we kind of it's a great business to be in, central banking. You print money and people believe it, and touch wood. And so it's a slightly different beast.
It's a great business to be in. We print money and people believe it, and they laugh. And they laugh, which is like the equivalent of
I think it's crazy because they're not admitting, they're bragging. And that's the worst part about it.
Yeah. And this is like the equivalent of like spitting in your face, essentially. So, like look at the smirks, like especially another one of Opti's exes. Like she's just looking over. She's like laughing. And they're just dead serious, and you just got like chuckles. So here's what Breedlove said. Whoa, talk about saying the quiet part out loud. What is money will be regarded as the defining question of our time in history. I 100% agree, because this is what Bitcoiners have been saying. This is what Saifedean, he wrote a book, right? The Bitcoin Standard and then the Fiat Standard. Lynn Alden wrote a book as well. Very, very intelligent Bitcoiners. It was a Simply Bitcoin has been saying this. Every Bitcoiner has been saying this, right? Even Satoshi in the Genesis block, it's like, yeah, central bankers are just literally creating money out of thin air. This is how governments are able to fund the endless wars. This is how governments are able to spend money they don't have, is by printing money. And here is a central banker literally admitting, this is a great business. We print money and people believe it. Ha ha hee ha. Look, we have a lot of work to do. And I'm saying this referencing the clip or the propaganda video coming out of the Biden administration yesterday, literally blaming companies for shrinkflation. And I think that video got like 25,000 likes. Until those types of videos come out and they have 0 likes because people have woken up to what is money, what is actual real money, and what is fake money, we have a lot of work to do as Bitcoiners. And yeah, you could tune into Simply Bitcoin every single day, but ask yourself not what Bitcoin could do for you. Ask yourself what you can do for Bitcoin. So get that message out there. Don't fall into the left and right divide and conquer tactics of governments, Democrat versus Republican, whatever it is in your country. Wake the F up and really tell the people around you, regardless of their ideology, it's like, guys, there's a problem here. There's a bureaucratic elite that get to print money or create money for free that everyone else has to work for. And there are serious economic consequences to that special privilege that they have and that they've abused the decades and decades and like over 100 years, actually, that central banking has been a thing. What was that great Ron Paul quote, right? It's not a coincidence that the bloodiest century in human history is the century of central banking, right? So here we are, ladies and gentlemen. Here we are in the movie where they're literally saying the quiet part out loud. Here's Marty Bent. Central bankers are getting cocky. Quote, it's a great business to be in. You can print money and people believe it. We actually fund ourselves. Pride cometh before the fall. Bitcoin is a much more ethical and sensible monetary system. And we have sent Preston Pish saying central bankers think you are so dumb that they can just say this kind of stuff out loud. Bitcoin is your proof that they can't keep getting away with this theft. And that's 100% right from Preston Pish. But I'll add an element to that. It's not only your proof, it's only your proof if you are buying Bitcoin, earning Bitcoin, mining Bitcoin, and taking that Bitcoin into self-custody. If you're not doing so, I mean, you're kidding yourself. There is no proof, right? You're buying that. You're buying more paper Bitcoin, essentially. You're falling more into the legacy financial system. Bitcoin is a revolution. It's a stand up. It's basically saying enough is enough. I refuse to own a money that another man can create for free, right? That's what Bitcoin is all about, but only if you take a little bit of personal responsibility and you take that Bitcoin that you mined, that you bought, and you take that Bitcoin into self-custody. And if enough people do that, we win, and you can't have these people just laughing at us anymore. And the whole dynamic between government and citizen, the state and the individual, all of that's going to change, because if they don't have the ability to print money, those politicians are going to start being awfully nice to you. And they're going to start wanting to do things for you all of a sudden, because there's going to be no other way for them. The guy said it in the video. There's going to be no other way for them to fund themselves other than via direct taxation, right? And if it's via direct taxation, the populace that you're taxing actually has to like you for them to agree with the spending, right? So anyways, lots of stuff to break down, but I mean, I'm going to start with Tatum. Tatum, like, Why you should get that? You should get those people on your show, brother, and you should ask them some serious questions because what the f?
I've been trying to get Jerome Powell on the show for a very long time, and it hadn't really worked out. But if anyone can put in a good word, Opti, let me know. But I actually quoted that tweet as well, with a less intelligent take. I just said get the stones, because it's insane that they just outright in your face, like they're saying it. And the problem is, like, the Bitcoiners are the people who understand, like, oh, we've known that. They're just saying it out loud. But there are people who don't recognize the severity of what he just said. Like, your mom and pop stores, and hell, some of your loved ones are just like, they're like, oh yeah, that's just how things work. That's just how it is. The government does this so we can do this. Like, it is a by default system that you can opt out of, that people don't. Not a lot of people understand that you can opt out of it, that you can fight this, and you don't have to, sign any documents, go to court or anything like that. You just start getting Bitcoin and holding it, because I can look at the code, and I have several computers that look at the code every 10 minutes, and they say, like, okay, everything's still working like it is. There's still going to be 21 million. And it looks like these transactions are happening, and these did happen. And yeah, everything looks good. Can you do that with fiat currency? No, you can't. People need to understand how big of a deal it is that you actually have the option to do this now. That's all it is, man. Makes me mad.
100%. No, and I love how you said that, Tatum, because that kind of brings me to one of their talking points. And one of their talking points is essentially the central bank money is public money and Bitcoin is private money. I don't know about you guys, but you can't audit, like what Tatum just said. You can't audit the Fed. You can't audit fiat currency. You don't know, right? You can't create more fiat currency without going to jail, right? You can create more Bitcoin. You just have to, get in line and mine it like everyone else. You can audit it like everyone else, right? So I don't know about you guys, but what sounds like a more public money and what sounds like a more private money, right? So I think it's just another case of the iron law of central banker and politician projection. They project onto us what it is they are guilty of themselves, right? And this is a system that benefits politicians and central bankers the most, right? So they're both going to protect each other, because the central bankers fund the politicians and the politicians protect the central bankers, right? So, and it becomes this like never ending kind of, vicious circle. And then you have situations like in the US where, we're sending billions of dollars overseas to fund these wars. And there's plenty of American cities that are just like, falling apart, right? And you have to ask yourself, like, if the US had this ability to create money for free, just literally just print money out of thin air, why isn't that money going back to help the people of that country in the first place? Why is that money only going to benefit, a bureaucratic elite? You have to ask yourself that. And I think it just comes down to like human nature and incentives. And I think, a lot of these politicians can't help themselves. And I think that's really what it comes down to. So it's time to try something different. It's time for a change. We are at this point, we saw so many signs and so many like little hints here and there that hinted to what this gentleman just said. And specifically, he's the governor of central banking in New Zealand. Apparently, his name is Adrian. So there's been so many little like hints and drops of what this guy was saying, but we never found the smoking gun. We found the smoking gun. Here's the smoking gun. It's right here. Like, we literally caught them dead to rights, admitting the choir part out loud. So anyways, Opti, what's your take on this?
Yeah, so I mean, look, we've been saying this for a long time, and we attack this exact conversation in multiple different ways, and we try to get to people logically and explain the fraud that is central banking, the fraud that is money printing. But I don't think we could do as good of a job as the smugness coming off of that clip right there. Like, if that doesn't get you angry, get you like an emotional response watching that, when they're just sitting there laughing and basically telling you that we're stealing from you and there's nothing you can do about it because you are still using the dollar, I don't know what will. And we will constantly probably reference this quote for the end of time until people start to wake up, the fraud that is fiat money, the fraud that is the money printer. And like, we've been saying this constantly throughout the year, that the more money they can print, the more they can steal from you. And Nico, I think the quote that you said and that you tweeted, I refuse to work for a money that other people can print for free, or rather can print out of thin air, is just so fitting right here, because everyone out there, every one of my loved ones, every one of your loved ones, they are all literally getting their life force drained away from them by people that can print money out of thin air. They literally don't have to provide any work. You labor away every single day. Your loved ones labor away every single day. They literally waste their lives for a worthless piece of paper. And these guys can print it to oblivion and get filthy rich and trade those worthless IOUs for all of the luxuries of life. And if this doesn't get you mad, I really don't know what will. And this is the type of stuff, this is like why we Bitcoin. This is why in the Genesis block there is Chancellor on the second brink, or what's it? Chancellor on the brink of second bailout, is because this is the whole thing about Bitcoin. Yes, Bitcoin is censorship resistant. Yes, it is permissionless, but it is hard cap money that cannot be debased. And that is why we always say, fix the money, fix the world. And we constantly show examples, various examples on this same thread, that they know that they are stealing from you, and yet most people are still oblivious to it. And yet here we have them just laughing in our faces. And I really wonder where this clip came from. It said at the bottom, like a committee meeting or something like that. So like I think, like you said in the beginning, maybe they didn't know it was going to hit the internet.
Yeah,
like what is going on here?
That's like a complete disconnect.
Actually, really, it's kind of they just don't care. It's back to the Big Short meme. Like they're just bragging.
Yeah, and I do want to read some of the comments. So first one is from Briggs. The government hates the people. I disagree. I think that you have a misaligned incentive structure, and I think that fiat brings out the worst in humanity. Like literally, it just brings out, because it's a system that few benefit from it, while everyone kind of gets hurt from it. And then the people that benefit from it are incentivized to protect the system that hurts everyone else. Right. So, and then from your perspective, you're just like, wow, these people are just evil. Like, how the hell are these, senators sending billions of dollars to fund a foreign war? Like, where are their priorities? Well, they're doing that because they're getting kickbacks. Right. They're doing that because they're trying to enrich themselves. They're feeding their families. What Bitcoiners are advocating for is to fix the incentive structure itself. And we're getting an example of that in El Salvador. In El Salvador, I really, truly believe this, and maybe it's too early to tell, right? But you have a society, I don't think it's a coincidence that the first country that made Bitcoin legal tender, therefore they fix the incentive structure, the base layer of society. You have the most popular president in the Americas that got reelected with 87% of the vote. And then there, on top of that, you have the whole legacy corporate media attacking him, questioning El Salvador's democracy and all these things, even though he was duly democratically elected for actually doing a good job, which is why people elected him back into office in the first place. Like, what is that saying, right? The flak is heaviest over the target. And I like just like this, guys, we've been saying this for many, many months, maybe years at this point. We are saying that this is what central bankers are doing. But with El Salvador, I have a suspicion. What's the saying also, Opti, right? Where there's smoke, there's fire. I don't have that proof yet, but I'm starting to see the same signs. Like, I'm starting to see that. What happens when the next country follows in El Salvador's footsteps, which I think is inevitable in the next 5 years as a number go up technology does its thing? And then what happens then? all of a sudden, you know, that government, that country starts working a little bit better than countries under a fiat standard, then what's their excuse gonna be then? Listen, I think living on a Bitcoin standard makes everyone's life better, right? It makes your life better. It makes the people around you's life better. And the reason for that is an aligned incentive structure model, and the fiat system is a misaligned incentive structure model. So I think it's as simple as that. I don't think it's rocket science. And I think the quintillioniers benefit from telling us that fiat is a lot more money is a lot more complicated than it should be. Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, let's get to the news. We have a lot to talk about. Let's check it out. Here we go. I want to give a shout out to our sponsor. Have you ever wanted to get into Bitcoin mining and don't know where to start? That's why I want to introduce you to Scott's Build a Mine Bootcamp. He will show you how to build your own Bitcoin mine, how to get the project funded, how to get your facility filled with miners as quickly as possible. With a little luck, and by putting all his techniques and strategies to work that he's developed mining Bitcoin for the last 6 years, you could be mining 5 million Satoshis per day or 0.05 Bitcoin in less than 3 months. On the free webinar, he will give you a high-level roadmap that will help you get on your way to building, owning, and operating your own Bitcoin mining farm. Begin your mining journey today. Register for the free webinar now. Click the link in the description of the video below or contact Scott directly on Telegram using his handle @OfferedScott and learn how to mine those precious, precious Satoshis.
The Daily News.
I want to give a shout out to our sponsor, Foundation Devices. It's self-custody done right. They built a premium grade hardware wallet called Passport right here in the US. It's fully open source and verifiable. It's the most intuitive Bitcoin wallet designed with a UX reminiscent of a simple feature phone. So you will know how to navigate it and use it the moment you pick it up. Get your Bitcoin off exchanges and into your own hands in just a few minutes. Experience the peace of mind that comes with taking ownership of your own keys. After a massive sellout during Bitcoin Miami 2023, the Passport is back in stock at foundationdevices.com. Bitcoin only, open source verifiable, completely air-gapped security model, gorgeous design craft, premium grade materials. If you're thinking about getting your Bitcoin off exchanges, this is the one for you. Check out the Passport link in the show notes below to learn more. All right, ladies and gentlemen, you want to make it over the finish line with your generational wealth, and you got to properly secure your seed words, but you also need to get yourself a hardware wallet so you can properly cold storage your Bitcoin. And of course, we recommend our sponsor, Passport by Foundation Devices. You could scan the QR code on your screen and it'll take you directly to the Foundation Devices website where you can get yourself a Passport hardware wallet. Remember, guys, not your keys, not your cheese. All right, ladies and gentlemen. So I do want to talk about this because it seems like this meme has caught on. And here's Michael Saylor trolling a little bit. The price of Bitcoin is still less than a 0.05 million, which is absolutely hilarious. We're not even saying anymore because, like, bro, okay, listen, guys. 3 years ago, if you would have told me that the price, you know, or what, in 2017, like when I got in 2016, the price of Bitcoin would be at 48,790. I would be like, no, bro, like you're lying. That's impossible. And it just like it's just hilarious. And like here's documenting Bitcoin, how Saylor looks at the Bitcoin price. It's going up forever. Here's Samson Mao, which created that meme. It says, my man. Here's the Bitcoin therapist, bro. MicroStrategy is pumping. Joe Burnett says, totally incredible. Yeah, just Bitcoiners are just dropping hot fire in the memes. Walker, there is no second best. I mean, I want some more of that Michael Saylor. He was so pumped. I think that's when the price was pumping, when he was saying all that stuff. Anyway, so I do want to cover today's topic, and then we're going to pass it on. We're going to pass it between the panel and just have this conversation. But I ran into this thread by Charles Edwards. And he had some interesting takes, and he comes to the conclusion that he's looking at a $280,000 Bitcoin next year. So let's take a look at some of his logic, how he got to this point. But I just want to specify, guys, if you guys are looking for a channel that speculates on the price of Bitcoin, this channel's not the one for you. We usually talk about Bitcoin news, culture, adoption, all of that stuff. But every once in a while, you know, if we run into notable speculations from interesting people, we do like to talk about it. We do like to break it down, right? So, if Sailor's throwing out a prediction or Adam back, we'll talk about it every once in a while. So anyways, all that being said, here's Charles Edwards, and he says, if Bitcoin's post-halving returns are the same as 2020, we're looking at a 280,000 Bitcoin next year. You might reasonably argue this cycle's returns are less than 2020. However, I believe the 2020 cycle performance was mediocre and an outlier. By the way, for the record, I completely agree with this. And the reason that I agree with this is something that I've said for many, many months now before I ran into this thread, was the infamous China ban, right? And I believe that really cut the last cycle in half. So I really think that we were meant to hit 100K last cycle. But if you take a look at the Bitcoin hash rate and also the price of Bitcoin, the Bitcoin hash rate dumped and the price of Bitcoin followed. And it makes sense because all of those miners had to sell their mining equipment, had to sell Bitcoin to relocate to more favorable jurisdictions. Now, the CCP could only pull that trigger once. The hash rate has since recovered, but, we did take quite a, I think they might have done it on purpose, actually, too. Like, do you think it's a coincidence that they banned Bitcoin mining on the run up of the last bull market? I think they were trying to attack the price, to be perfectly frank. So, and here is Mr. Edwards pointing out the same thing. Bitcoin mining network cut in half by China ban. And then the second cycle peak, I don't agree with him on the second one, but most aggressive Fed tightening cycle in history begins. I don't believe that that's the reason. I think that this run up had so much momentum that it was able to kind of peak twice, right? But I think that this was just meant to go up just like every other previous cycle. The only kind of unknown variable was the China ban. Guys, don't trust me. Verify for yourself. Take a look at Bitcoin price and Bitcoin hash rate, and you'll literally see the hash rate drop off in the middle of the last Bitcoin bull market run up. So I really believe that played a huge role as why, a lot of people were blue balled, so to speak, on the last cycle run up. Anyways, it goes on to say 2020 was the worst Bitcoin bull market in history. I believe overall performance was pinned down due to the 50% destruction of mining network by China and the most aggressive Fed tightening cycle in history. These were two massive stagnating forces on Bitcoin, the magnitudes of which we are highly unlikely to see again in the next 2 years. It goes on to say, in fact, 2024 marks the polar opposite of to 2021. QE has resumed and the Fed has started easing. The Fed chair Powell expecting 3 cuts this year. A weakened dollar equals a stronger Bitcoin. He goes on to say, further, I consider the January Bitcoin ETF launches as powerful as a second halving. When the gold ETF launched in 2004, the gold market cap was 4 times bigger than Bitcoin's is today. With a market cap of around 3.3 trillion, gold commenced a parabolic rise of over 300% to 13 trillion in under 7 years. Bitcoin's market cap today is just over 800 billion. Smaller assets are generally capable of experiencing larger upside returns. This means a 300% appreciation from the ETF alone would probably be very conservative for Bitcoin. And all markets simply move much faster today than 20 years ago. Every major technological development in the last century has experienced progressively faster rates of adoption. Bitcoin is currently growing faster than the internet. The bottom line, a 500% return over the 18 months following the halving would not be unusual for Bitcoin historically. An additional 300% return over the next 2 to 5 years from the ETFs alone would be a conservative assumption. When you drill it down to the 2 most important factors for Bitcoin this cycle and add them together, it's easy to arrive at a conservative Bitcoin price of 300K in the next couple years. a lot can happen between now and then to factor these numbers up or down. Other data will also become more relevant as at different points through time. So it's very important to do your own research and treat this as one perspective only, not investment advice. And I think, the reason I wanted to cover this thread today, guys, is because I truly believe in the China ban, that it had a major effect in Bitcoin's price potential in the bull market year of 2021. And also, I think, he hits the nail on the head with his various points. I think there's two major catalysts that are happening. Catalyst number one is the spot Bitcoin ETF, and catalyst number two is, of course, the halving that's coming up. And historically, Bitcoin tends to moon about 9 months after the halving. Are we going to see that type of behavior repeat itself? Perhaps. I mean, it's followed the patterns. It hasn't broken that. The only thing, I'm telling you guys, the only thing that changed last cycle was the China ban. And the hash rate dropped the way it did. But if that's not going to happen this cycle, if the hash rate continues to go parabolic, which it has been, right? If it continues to follow that pattern, if the inflows of the ETF continue the way that they are, the supply getting cut in half in April, I mean, like, all the stars are aligning for this epic bull market that we might experience. I might be completely overly bullish here, but I mean, that's what I'm seeing from my perspective. A lot of things could change, right? The regulatory hostility could increase. A China, an equivalent of a China ban could happen potentially in the US. So I'm not saying it's 100% certainty. No one knows where the price of Bitcoin is. I don't care who you are. If they're telling you that they know where the price of Bitcoin is going to be tomorrow, they're 100% lying to you. But I mean, I don't know, bro. I saw that thread, and it sounded pretty logical to me. I don't know. What do you think? What do you think, Tatum?
I think another factor for the last cycle that is somewhat overlooked was the whole FTX debacle, because that was a lot bigger than people really actually thought it was, with an extreme amount of fake Bitcoin, and also literal price suppression to keep Bitcoin low. Like the leverage that was involved in FTX was crazily dunking the price more than we could have thought of. But when you're looking at hash rate, I definitely think that as of right now, as of a couple months ago, honestly, it's a race to get the most Bitcoin you can in a 10-minute time period. Because if you look at the mempool chart of the hash rate over the past couple of years, hell, if you look at it from all time, you can see the China ban. It dips like crazy and then immediately shoots right back up and continues to go parabolic. We're now at like 600 exahash globally or something like that. And it, unfortunately, as much as I want the halving to be on April 20th, I do not think it will be, because look at difficulty adjustments. Difficulty adjustments have been insane. I think there was one negative one in the past couple of epochs. Everything else has been positive, sometimes scraping double-digit percent increases. And right now, I think we're even looking at like a 7 to 8% increase, meaning that more people are turning on miners. Blocks are easier to find. Difficulty has to adjust, and we're gonna get to the halving a little earlier than we anticipate, because people, especially institutions, especially plebs, honestly, are wanting to get the most Bitcoin that they can, because their machines are going to keep doing the same amount of work for half the reward. And I mean, what's the price going to do after that? You're looking at supply and demand at that point. People are demanding more Bitcoin. People are turning on ASICs, whether they're demanding it over a exchange table or they're demanding it via mining it, or however it may be. We're getting closer and closer to the supply shock, especially with the daily production being far less than what the ETFs are demanding right now.
100%, and it's a really, really good take. And I do want to show you guys, because this is something that we keep talking about, and let's show you guys a visualization of the significance of this band, right? So here is the Bitcoin hash rate and also the total market cap, right? So you could see, guys, that here the hash rate is the dark blue line for our audio listeners, right? It was at, I can't read that because there's a Q at the end. I don't even know what that means. But literally, you see the market cap fall off a cliff as the hash rate falls off a cliff. Of course, it recovered. It recovered in a decentralized fashion without no central party dictating those miners to plug themselves back in. It was the mere Bitcoin's mere incentives alone. And of course, it's just gone parabolic after that, which is extremely bullish. But guys, I think this played a huge role on why we didn't see 100K Bitcoin in 2021. Now, Tatum said something really interesting about the supply shock, and I saw a really interesting comment, and I wanted to talk about that. Matthew J said, gold doubled in mining production after ETF. Bitcoin will have. And that's a really good point, because that's something to keep in mind, ladies and gentlemen, right? When people compare Bitcoin to gold, something that you have to remember, that gold, when the price of gold goes up, the production of gold goes up with it. But even if the price of Bitcoin goes up, the production not only stays the same, right? Roughly 900 Bitcoin per day, it actually is going to get cut in half in April, right? No matter what the price does. So I completely agree with Tatum. I think that there's an impending supply shock guaranteed. And I don't think we've ever seen something like that in human history. So I'm extremely bullish. Anyways, Opti, what's your take on all this?
Yeah, so I am glad you brought this up, Nico, because I think in private, we've had this conversation where we're just wondering what's going to happen this bull run. And I don't have any data or anything, but I just felt it deep in my plums that this was going to be roughly around the price range. Like, that's kind of what I've been thinking for this next bull run, especially considering like everything we talked about, the China ban, the FTX money printer, rather paper Bitcoin, all these had a factor in last bull run. And now we do have a different playing field with basically Wall Street having a full green light. We're seeing every corporate press talking about Bitcoin. Bitcoin's popping up in popular culture. So I think, I got into Bitcoin in 2017. And I remember the FOMO going around in just everyday normie conversations. And I think this next run, once it really gets into the deep stages of the last leg of the bull run, I think we're going to be seeing an incredible amount of fervor and FOMO going on. And I really do think that, even though I'm like trying not to be too bull-tarded and too bullish, like I really do feel that 200K speculative price might even be conservative. So like, I think that we are definitely going into the 6-figure range. And I again, I don't have any data for this. I just kind of like, that's kind of where my head was at since we started moving up after like the 25K range. I'm like, this round we're going to the 200Ks. I just know it. I'm like, we're going to hit like 300K. But what do I know? Like everyone's saying in the chat, and shout out to McLovin, because I say this all the time. Like, we are in hungry hippo mode, guys. This is the game. If you guys are old like me, millennials, you remember playing Hungry Hippo. And the point of the game is to accumulate as much Bitcoin as possible. In my opinion, Bitcoin is valuable. Even if it was at $1, it's extremely valuable because it's finally a money that cannot be debased, that is censorship resistant, that you don't need someone's permission to use, that you can send around the world literally instantly, and there is no middleman. And to me, that is worth way more than the price it is today. So yes, we like to speculate. Yes, all Bitcoiners like to, count their chickens before the eggs hatch. But I really do feel like this bull run is going to surprise a lot of people. And you guys know me, I've been saying on the show for a while, I'm not really a believer in the diminishing returns meme, even though, look, I can be wrong, but I fundamentally think that is incorrect. We are adopting a new technology here, a better technology than the money technology we have currently. And I think few people understand what that really means. And everyone in the chat and everyone that is a Bitcoin bull, everyone that is accumulating Bitcoin understands what they hold. I haven't looked at the Glassnode numbers recently, but remember, 70 to 80% of all Bitcoin in circulation is being hodled by people that know what they're holding. So there's only a small amount of Bitcoin on exchanges, and we know that traders basically move the price on the margin. There's very few Bitcoin that get traded, and they will have to basically take Bitcoin to the moon to incentivize you to drop some Bitcoin or sell it for assets and things that you want to do. So right now is a time where you prepare your cold storage, you prepare yourself mentally, and you do your best to make it through the HODL buyout zone. I fundamentally believe, and again, I don't have data for this, it's just a feeling in my gut. You know, can a brother just know things here and there, that I think we're going to the 200K range as well. Again, you know, Nico likes to say we don't like to speculate on the channel, but all life is speculation. And I think this next bull run is going to be absolutely crazy. And I'm trying to mentally prepare myself so I don't just absolutely lose my mind. But I think that is a very generous and conservative view of where the price is going. I think we just don't understand what's fundamentally going to happen in the next 18 months after the halving.
Nico said nothing. Opti's dropping price predictions.
Wait, hold on. Opti's opinions are not a reflection of Simply Bitcoin.
Anyways, Tatum, what's your take, man? Do you agree? Do you agree since Opti already's dropping numbers? What's your take on this? What's your take on the thread? Do you think it's sound? The guys, Mr. Edwards' logic. Do you think it's overly optimistic? Do you believe in the diminishing returns theory? What's your take on all this?
Well, I have quickly learned in my journey through Bitcoin that I am wrong anytime I predict a number. So I honestly don't know how close I think that number falls, but I definitely think that we're going to go parabolic. We're going to melt faces. This cycle is different. People keep saying that, but like it is very, very different. Like it going into this cycle is just magnitudes different than the previous one in the best ways possible. I think that we're about to see ridiculous face melting on the negative side as far as the US dollar. I think we're about to see ridiculous face melting on the positive side as far as Bitcoin's price, because everything's lining up. Wall Street has green light. Miners are becoming more efficient, more prominent. There are more home miners. There are more institutional miners. Like mining is just going parabolic as it is already. And you know, I don't doubt that we will see mid-range six figures at the top of this cycle. Just because, you know, like Opti said, you got to feel it in your plums. Yesterday, Bitcoin hit 50K while I was in the bathroom, and I got to go again. All right. So listen, just prepare yourself with that. This is not financial advice, but follow for more trading tips, aka just me telling you when I got to take a shit. So
wait. Can I pop in here? I didn't even touch on, if they turn on the money printer, let's accelerate the Bitcoin price. We're going to the moon.
Oh man. It is party's over for the central bankers. Anyways, I do want to give a shout out to our sponsor. Of course, we wouldn't be on air without our sponsors. So I do want to give a shout out to Bitcoin Evangelism, planting seeds for a decentralized revolution. We have 10 million people to orange pill. Bitcoin Evangelism by Brian DeMint is an absolute beast of a resource for orange pilling no coiners and all coiners alike. This is a book for Bitcoiners who know Bitcoin but have a hard time explaining it to their friends. It's a book for Bitcoiners who are trying to explain Bitcoin only to altcoiners. Guys, if you have that aunt, brother, uncle, father, mother, grandma, whatever it is, that you just don't know how to orange pill, get yourself a copy of Bitcoin Evangelism. It will arm you with the tools that you need in order to orange pill that certain person. All right, everybody, let's get to the culture and talk to Tatum. Let's do it. Here we go.
The Daily Culture.
All right, before we get to the culture, I do want to give a shout out to our sponsor, Rex, the most trusted place to buy, sell, and host mining equipment. You can check out their racks by scanning the QR code on your screen. It'll take you directly to their Telegram marketplace where you can connect with a member of their sales team. They make purchasing their products easy and transparent. You could also sell your mining equipment with them, access their vast network of domestic and international customers when you sell your mining equipment with them. What are you waiting for? Visit Kaboom Rex today. Scan the QR code on your screen. All right, everybody. Let's talk to Tatum. We got a lot
So
to talk
guys,
about.
Tatum's a comedic genius, and I'm saying genius very liberally here. But before we're not going to get too comedic and talk funny stuff today. But before we get into geeking out on mining, guys, rate Tatum's setup in the chat right now. You guys can see it on the screen. Anyways, Tatum, like I was saying, when we were in Vegas, you were lamenting about the fact that everyone just thinks that you're a comedian and no one ever wants to take you seriously, and you really want to talk about mining. And so let's just geek out on mining for a little bit. So what's your thoughts? Actually, how about you said something about the efficiency of new miners and some new ASICs coming out. So let's start with the new ASICs about to be dropped, and what's your thoughts on all that stuff?
So yeah, ASICs are getting crazy. We have seen the two main manufacturers, MicroBT with WhatsMiner and Bitmain with Antminers. Antminers have released the Antminer S21 has come out with a sub 20 joule per terahash efficiency, which is in layman terms, that's insane. We've never seen that before on a stock machine. Same with the M60, I believe, with WhatsMiner. Both are boasting like I want to say between 17 and 19 joules per terahash, which again is just absolutely nuts. But of course, if you know anything about Bitmain machines, you remember the XP launch. Oh, I was so happy for the XPs. And then I hated them with everything in my being. So we'll see how those turn out. A lot of design flaws that were trying to cut costs at a very, it wasn't worth it in my opinion. They had a lot of potential. We are seeing with the S21s, they're similar but different in structure as the XPs. However, you're looking at, shoot, I forget what an S21 sticker hash rate is. I think close to 180, I want to say. I could be completely wrong there, but it's going to be a game changer if these things actually work. I also have taken a new stance on mining as a whole. I am a super immersion bear and a super hydro-cooled bull. And we're very far from hydro-cooling being norm. But
wait, Tatum, can you break that down for people that don't know what you're talking about? What's the difference?
So your basic like normal miner that you see is usually going to be air cooled. It's the one that goes wee, and it's cooled by the air through fans. Immersion is when there's some miners that are built for immersion, but you can take the fans off of an ASIC and dip it into mineral oil. There's different oils that are specific to Bitcoin mining that basically cools it easier, and you can overclock it a little safer. However, I hate that now. I hate it so much. It's a big, stupid gimmick, in my opinion. If it works for you, awesome, cool. I don't want anything to do with that. Hydro cooling is you can't really, you can convert an air-cooled miner into hydro cooling with some aftermarket heat sink blocks. Not the best way to go about it, but I know that WhatsMiner, both Antminers and WhatsMiners have hydro cooling specific ones. But I think that WhatsMiner hydro cooled is going to be insane. It's a huge game changer. There's a company, and I cannot remember the name, but they're actually partnering with WhatsMiner to, they're basically making these racks that you can put these hydro cooled machines in, and it turns into a hot water heater that also mines Bitcoin. And I think that that's going to play a big part in the next run up of machines that we see after we kind of get a cool down from these new air cooled machines. I think that hydro cooling is the future, and I think that there's going to be more innovation to make those more accessible, because right now it's not for the everyday miner. But we'll see what happens. I'm super excited. I am still bullish. As much as I hate Bitmain at this point in my life, I am bullish on mining, and I have some crazy predictions that I don't know if they're at all anywhere close to accurate, but we'll see what happens, man.
Love it. Okay. Also, I don't know if you dropped it already or you're about to drop a between two nodes with Denver Bitcoin, and you wanted, or you gave me like a note, and I actually want to ask you about the efficiency and longevity of ASICs. Do you think they're going to have quick turnarounds? Are S9 still going to be profitable after the halving? What's going on here, Tatum?
Everyone needs to turn on an S9 as ASAP as possible, as I like to say. I'm working on. I haven't dropped the episode yet. I'm hopefully going to do that this week. I had some stuff come up and I couldn't get it pushed out, but had a great discussion with Adam O from Upstream Data at Denver Bitcoin. If you want to look on X, he has some great insights, and we kind of accidentally figured out that we nerd out on similar parts of mining, such as like efficiency and value of ASICs, that push against metrics as far as like your basic efficiency as far as joules per terahash versus the revenue, meaning the price of Bitcoin over the course of a certain amount of blocks, versus capital allocation to purchase these machines. Because the same machines that cost $14,000 whenever Bitcoin was hitting all-time highs are now going for sub $1,000. And there's a lot that goes into what you might find valuable in an ASIC miner. But the main thing that I'm focusing on is, what was the value at this point in time? I want to work on charting data of like when it comes out to present day, because even S9s, based on the capital allocation that you have to buy an S9, which is nothing, those things are still going to be valuable to some people, especially the fact that those are still 110 and you don't have to get a special power setup for that. An S9 is always going to be valuable to me. An XP, an S19 XP, not going to be too valuable for me personally. They're relatively expensive. They end up being just terrible hardware. But then also the efficiency is not as good as some of the other ones boast now, including going into the WhatsMiner market as well. So I think that you're going to see what I think is going to happen at the halving is I think that the ASIC market is going to become a lot more liquid, and meaning that I think that there's going to be a lot of cheap ASICs coming up, because I think that some miners are going to be capitulating, not capitulating, but liquidating some of their assets as far as ASIC miners onto the market, which psychopaths and plebs like me are going to scoop up as much as they can, because give it a couple months after the halving, I think every miner that is currently running right now that has a close margin of profitability, talking about maybe like S19, J's onward, those are all going to be easily profitable in the next couple of months after the halving. So that's my big prediction. Don't buy ASICs blindly. I will say that. I say that everyone needs to have an ASIC and everyone needs to play around with it. But if you're doing it for the wrong reasons, i.e., I plug it in, I get money, don't do that. Definitely get one for cheap, even if it's a like an S7 or something like that off eBay for like $40, just to tinker around with it. Like, you're going to learn everything that you need to just by playing around with some paperweight model. And then you're going to end up figuring out how to get 240 volt power in your apartment.
Let's double down. What are some more halving predictions? What do you think is going to happen?
I have a question before.
Oh, okay.
I have a question. Now, Opti usually interrupts me, but I'm interrupting him this time.
That's so cap.
Boom. Okay. Dude, the halving's coming up. People are going to be mining half as much Bitcoin. That's going to be painful for pleb miners. That's going to be painful for, the average Joe. That's going to be painful for everyone unless the price kind of runs up, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think that we are going to see a dip, because some of these, I would venture to say, completely speculative. I think that a lot of miners right now are about to experience their first halving as miners, because I mean, even last cycle, I wasn't even a miner last cycle, and unfortunately, I just did a swan dive into the industry, which has destroyed my mental capability.
Is there a video of that?
Yeah, you know the duck cannonballing into coins. I did that, but with a bunch of ASIC miners. It hurt really badly.
You're not the only one.
But,
So many horror stories from friends saying the same thing.
But I think that it is going to hurt for a little while unless you're doing it for the right reasons and you also know what to expect. When I say doing it for the right reasons, I'm not saying like if you're mining for profit, you're doing it for the wrong reasons. But I'm going to still be mining because I value KYC free sats. I don't pay for electricity yet. My apartment is catching on to that. And also, I have conviction on what the price will do. There's going to be some bleeding, not to a point where I'm like, nope, no more mining, but it's going to 100% pay off, in my opinion, because the price is going to be, there you go. The price is going to be ridiculously high and make miners very profitable. That we see kind of unprofitable right now.
Dude, that's so funny.
Yeah. Yeah, I did check. I was like, dude, is there some hidden cost in my rent that is variable to electricity? And I checked. I was like, I don't think so. Bro, I was plugging in every single 110-volt miner that I had in my collection. I plugged in a V9. V9 is like 4 terahash. I just did because I could.
Dude, that's hilarious. That's hilarious. Oh
all right. I want to kind of put you on the spot, Tatum. When we were in Vegas, the ocean mining pool was just announced. Are you still a filterer? Wait, what's the meme? I forget what they're...
Fix the filters?
Yeah. Are you still a hashtag fix the filters guy, or what's going on?
So with the ocean pool, I think that they did 2 things that are unrelated. I think that they showed what you can do to decentralize mining before we reach mass Stratum V2 optimization and adoption. But 2, filtering. And those are completely unrelated. Whether you want to filter or not, that's up to you. What I really think is the bigger part for me is that this pool is basically it's like, imagine I gave the analogy, like, imagine you're at a party and there's all these cliques of like jocks and suits and pretty boys, and they'll let you come in and, you know, hang out with them. They won't acknowledge you. They'll kind of make fun of you a little bit too. But you choose to be there because it makes you feel good. That's Ant Pool. That's Foundry. You can't go with Foundry, but that's F2 Pool. That's that are mainly pointing at institutional miners. They getting the good rates when they are pushing off everything to the plebs. Then some guy walks in, Luke Dash Jr., and was like, hey, y'all want to party over here? And you're like, yeah, why not? Let's go over there. And then you see another guy from a different clique do the same thing. It's like, oh yeah, let's go party with Luke. And then another guy, and then another guy, and another guy. And they're all just like having fun because they are in the group that wants them there. They're pleb pool. And there's going to be institutional mining with Ocean, but they are structured to where you're not getting gypped on other fees that are going behind, under the table, out of band, stuff like that. And it's like, oh yeah, we can do some out of band stuff and create these templates and things like that. But we won't just, anyone who just points their stratum at us, you know, it's whatever. No, you're going to actually end up seeing the block templates and choosing them yourself. Like it's not going to be some that's one of the worst things about mining, in my opinion, is that we talk about decentralization, and unfortunately, truth bomb, mining is centralized as hell. And I think that this is a good initiative forward to decentralizing it. I think the Stratum V2 is going to further decentralize that. And I think that both of them will be able to collaborate. This pool structure and Stratum V2 are going to be able to collaborate in tandem to basically bring back decentralized mining and make pleb mining a thing again, because right now pleb mining is not a thing. I hate to say it because I am a pleb miner, but pleb mining is just not pretty right now. So I think that we're going to see that turn around, though.
Love it. Okay, Tatum, last 2 stats on mining before we pivot and we plug your projects and all the things that you're working on.
Get a cheap miner from eBay, whether it works or not. Just take it apart, but don't do it while it's plugged in. Please.
Wait, don't do it from eBay. Do it from Kaboom Racks. Kaboom Racks. Kaboom Racks.
Well, I mean, you're going to get stuff that actually works there that you can break. You like that little backhanded plug there?
Yeah, there you go.
I love Kaboom Racks. Kaboom Racks has been very nice to me, and they always have some really great deals going on. I spent a lot of money on Kaboom Racks. I don't want to think about it. Let's move on now.
All right. Well, Tatum, everyone knows you for your comedy, for your YouTube videos. I honestly didn't know there was a difference between 2 nodes and between 2 ASICs. So maybe tell me the difference and then plug everything you're working on. And then also putting you on the spot, are you rug pulling the Simply Bitcoin between 2 ASICs or what?
No. First of all, turns out a lot of people didn't know that 2 nodes and 2 ASICs was a different thing. I thought that I did better with that. That's my fault. But no, between 2 ASICs is the original stuff that I've been doing. The silly, goofy Between Two Ferns spinoff, in person, short form. Between 2 nodes. If you're in the Between Two ASICs lore, you remember that it's not a podcast. That's from episode 3 with BTC Sessions. Between Two Nodes is a podcast. All right. Hey, everyone, settle down. Do not come at me with any accusations. But no, Between Two Nodes is kind of like the longer form, more serious stuff. I have 3 episodes out right now with Jason Meyer, Stephen Lupka, and then someone else. Gosh, I can't remember. I always forget the third person. They're all really good. CK. That episode wasn't actually good. It was my fault, not his. He's great. But it's that's kind of what I'm doing in addition. I'm not stopping Between Two ASICs. I'm still doing that. But Between Two Nodes is like some of the guests that I have. It's like they're there for the comedy and stuff like that. But I do want to talk to them like more seriously in person and kind of hear what they have to say. Also, there's my Mighty Beans collection if you want to watch that video for some reason. Okay, yeah, we don't have to actually watch it. All right, we can pull that down now. But yeah, hey, Simply Between Two ASICs is coming. I just have a lot to edit because that was one hell of an episode. Might have to paywall some of it, but
sorry, not sorry.
No, it was one of the most fun. It was so fun.
Somehow, some way, this is Opti's fault, dude. You'll get it once it ever drops.
That was like so Opti and I did the news desk, and like that burns us out. And then Tatum's like, "Hey, do you want to do an episode?" I think I had like 2 brain cells left.
2 brain cells left, 3 energy drinks.
Dude, bro, we did the news desk for like a couple hours. I just got off a panel, and then Tatum's like, "You want to do an interview?" I was like, yeah, sure." I don't even know if what we said was PG. Like,
it wasn't.
I definitely was mature, rated mature.
I said, me and Carl were reviewing, and he was like, "How are we gonna post this?" I was like, "We got to find a way because this is awesome." But my parents do watch.
This is the content you want. All right, so Tatum, what do you have in the works for all the content you're making for 2024? Are you putting into the overdrive? What's going on with you, bro?
Yeah. First of all, let me plug my OnlyFans at Tatum Turn Up. That's where you can find the episode on Cut. Just kidding about that, but no, we're kind of redefining 2024. It's game time now. We've had a slow start. I'd spent an entire month in a foreign state building Bitcoin mines, so that kind of put a little damper on things. But more content, more episodes. I have a huge backlog that I have to publish because like some of it some of it you're going to see me and you're going to be like, that's not the same person. But still good quality stuff. I feel so bad for some of the guests, like Samson. Oh my gosh, I've told him I was going to post this like 3 times. A lot more between two nodes, and also I've got a couple of research projects that I'm publishing out now. I'm working on an essay called "Bitcoin as a Perpetual Motion Machine." I'm also working on ASIC valuation, like I talked about, and also I'm doing some other little projects like changing thermal paste on heat sinks to see what that does to efficiency in ASIC miners. Why? I don't know. It's fun. I like taking stuff apart and breaking things. So, yeah, if you want to follow along, follow me on Twitter or X, whatever, at Tatum Turnup, at Tatum Turnup on Nostr as well. I also have just at Tatum on Nostr for my more serious side. You can find both of those if you just look up Tatum or Tatey Wadey or something like that. Shout out Sir Sleepy. That's all you say. You're here for Tatey Wadey. Well, here he is, baby.
Oh man!
Wow, we love you, Tatum.
Yeah,
we love
dude.
you, bro.
Always an honor.
Actually, we'll
Always
do
an honor
it
to have you
live
on the show.
when you drop that article. Come back on and we can talk about it.
Yeah, 100%. And when you drop the show, if it ever releases on the internet, that should
we won't play it on Simply Bitcoin.
That should make a good conversation.
Honestly, like the editing team behind that episode is going to look like the NASA like landing a rover on Mars or something like that. Like I'm going to have to pull out all the stops, man.
Let's go.
It's going to be ridiculous, but no, I'm super excited. That was such a fun episode.
Oh man, that was fun.
And before we go off, Nico, sorry,
us, dude. It was an honor.
Before we go off, we literally did it, and Carl and Tatum are like cracking up, and dude, that was so good. And like I got Nico, I'm like, Tatum, actually, was this actually good? He's like, dude, that was amazing. Like, I was like, oh,
it was the most unhinged shit that like everything just like happened. Like there was no scripting whatsoever, and it turned out perfect.
No script or filter.
Yep,
this is true. This is true.
Hey, fix the filters, baby. Fix the filters.
Hashtag fix the filters.
Anyways, guys, thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of Simply Bitcoin. If you guys enjoyed the show, you know what to do. Smash that like button. Consider subscribing if you feel like we provided you value. I'm your host, Nico. This is my co-host, Optimus Fields. And a very special shout out to our very special guest, Tatum Turnup. Tatum, thank you so much for joining us on the show today. We really, really appreciate it, guys.
My OnlyFans.
Hell yeah. Guys, check out his channel. It's YouTube at Tatum Turnup. You could search in between two ASICs. Incredible content creator. Tatum's incredibly funny. Tatum, thank you so much for joining us today. Appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
All right, guys, you know the deal. We love you all. We appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. We wouldn't be here without you all. We'll see you tomorrow, Wednesday episode, and another episode of Simply Bitcoin Live. And in the afternoon, we'll be having another Simply Bitcoin IRL with Lawrence Lepard, which should make a very interesting conversation, especially with everything that's going on. All right, guys, love you all. We'll see you tomorrow for a brand new episode of Simply Bitcoin Live.